Alright, episode 2. And opens with the joke. The following video contains massive amounts of ponies. You cannot handle them. Please turn back now. You have been warned. Obviously, with the first episode getting popular, it's the most popular video because it's episode 1. Curious people just wander into it and they're like, horses, ponies, why? What is this? Why did you do this? I'm like, you clicked on the video, you saw the title, you know what this is? So I put this as a joke for episode 2. And then I put the actual warning because this is the one that has stuff in it right off the bat. So, let me see if I can read the letter. Dear Princess Celestia, I have considered your offer to join the science program on the new Moon Lab facility. I would be delighted to join the other scientists and share my knowledge with them. My other friends, however, are not too enthusiastic about joining, considering what happened to Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie. I hope they're both doing well in your care facility, and I'd like to know if we can see them soon. Your faithful student, Emma spelled. Twilight Sparkle. So I put here that she's like, oh, on the Moon Lab facility. I don't think she gets to the Moon Lab facility. She doesn't get to the Moon Lab facility. They're still in the Equestria Lab. So I guess that was just me like preparing for her to be like, is she in space? Is she not in space? She's not in space. Immediately cut to Rainbow Dash in this operating room because guess what movie I had just watched? RoboCop. And I was like, I need a RoboCop scene with Rainbow Dash getting turned into a robot. So I put a bunch of stuff. Nurse Redheart obviously had to be here because she was like the only medical character in the show. And this looks pretty gruesome, I guess, for like the time, right? It's pretty. I mean, it's such a sudden shift to this, like with her having tubes stuck in her, bloody, like. It's. I mean, I've made worse later on, but this was pretty like jarring. I could have warned people a little bit better, but you know, it is what it is. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, oh, here's the TF2 medic, because obviously more Valve references. In the grand scheme of things, this was kind of necessary, right? And then here's the first time skip. So, something that confused a lot of people is, does everything after this take place 10 years later? Like, no. Only the stuff with Twilight in the future, where she's in the lab, is the 10 years later. Everything else you see, like Dr. Hooves, anybody that's not like roboticized like that, is of the past. So I made that clear by starting to put the timeline at the end of the credits so that people wouldn't be confused. But yeah, so here we see Pinkie Pie the core for the first time. Again, this was the original first episode. This is how it opened. She's just, you know, being weird, and then goes and finds Discord randomly and causes everything to happen. Well, everything in the future to happen, I guess. And there you see Discord with his new design. I guess people didn't all like it, right? Oh, here, hold on. I have to say this is dope. Do not press. They just put a sticker over it. Like, yeah, that's, people were like, really? That's how they like stopped. That's how they thought they were gonna stop somebody from like reactivating him. It's like, there's so much goofy stuff like that in the game. Like, if you go replay it, like, that's not that far off. They would put a big "Do not press" sticker on a wall to be like, this is a self-destruct button, basically. But some people don't like his design because he's like very skeletal, and it's just also kind of jarring from the first episode, right? And then his wings, I put the wings on them because I was like, that makes it a little more, stands out a little more from just being another GLaDOS, you know. And then the intro again. Do I have anything else to say about the intro? You're only gonna see it like 2 more times after this, huh? I don't know. I got nothing else to say about this. Come on. Okay, so here we have like one of these back areas. Like when you're in the game, you go in the back area. And she just happens to run into Celestia, who has a new design. She has her crown. Slightly more details like around her eye. The wings. I think I made her a little more pink to be more like the color she is in the show, that like kind of like very light pink versus just being straight white. The eyes in this episode are still simple. I didn't put in like the lenses with all the details. It's like the staticky screen pops up on. Just like the Portal 2, like Wheatley shows up on those screens late in the game. This is a goofy premise. I mean, like, it's one of those things like you just kind of gotta get the story rolling, but it's like, what do we do? You reactivated this guy. We've all just been sitting around doing nothing. Now you gotta wake up one of the test subjects. There's no, like, okay, these pods are obviously like the Halo 4 pods that Master Chief is in the beginning of the game. I don't think these numbers have any significance. I just chose random numbers. Even though 360. Like, yeah, like 007, that's not supposed to be James Bond. That's just a number I chose. 514, that's a number I use pretty often. 117, that's Master Chief's actual number, but it doesn't have any significance. And then 66, obviously, Lilo and Stitch. But again, I just chose random numbers. 42, obviously, that's the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy joke, the meaning of the universe. Like, put that on Twilight stuff, because she has that in the show, the actual show, on her racing number in that one episode. So she looks pretty, like, messed up, right? She's in this pod, like, everybody else looks kind of normal. And she's, like, all her hair's messy, she's got, like, bags under her eyes. She looks a little rough, so you, like, wonder, like, how come she looks rough? Maybe it's just because she's been in there, but obviously stuff happens. Then we have the little sleeping pod thing from Portal 1. She wakes up in. The headband. What was the headband? The headband originally was just a headband. And then obviously you find out later why she has a headband. And that was just like kind of coincidence. Or I guess I built around the fact that she had that headband. I was like, let me have her, like, give her a reason to have it later on. Amazing hairbrush animation. The boots. Okay, so the boots were another one of those things that, I swear, everything, like, you make creative decisions, you're just like, obviously, this is how, like, this character would look in pony form, right? Shell has 2 boots. Like, I know the ponies have 4 hooves and no hands. So it's like, why don't they have 4 boots? And I was like, well, visually, like, they have 2 boots. Like, she has 2 boots in the game. So I'm like, I'll just give her 2 boots, right? And people were like, what if she lands on her front hoof? She can, like, break her legs. And I'm like, well, she doesn't. And she does it in this episode specifically because I was like, well, she wouldn't land on her front feet. But people were adamant that, like, no, she's going to break her hoof. She needs all 4 because she's got 4 legs. And so I was like, yeah, I guess you're right, right? But I had written a joke with Cranky because he was going to have voice lines like Cave Johnson, like recorded voice lines that play, where he was going to talk about, like, you guys, like in universe, you guys have been complaining so much about only having 2 boots and breaking your legs. So now all the test subjects are going to have 4 boots. And that was going to be the explanation for why she had 4 boots. But I just didn't put it in the episode. It was going to be in, like, a later episode, and I just never got to it. But she starts with 2 boots. And then I just put this little wrap thing because I was like, yeah, it just looks cool. Just put a little, like, wrap around her wrist. Shell has, like, a wristband thing, right? Like that, I think. So I was like, let me just put in some of those details. Anyway, here we kick it off. Celestia is like out. Discord is in control. And then she like shows up. Yet again, here's another thing. People were like, this doesn't make any sense. How come they can move around? This was in the last episode too, right? How come they can move around the lab? I'm pretty sure they can move around the lab in Portal, right? They just don't do it on screen. I don't know, cause no, they have to, cause what's her face? GLaDOS's chamber at the end of Portal 1 is in that big room that's like floating in the middle of nothing. And then in Portal 2 you go back there at the beginning, but then when you go back later, it's like a different room, right? So either like the whole thing got rebuilt or around that AI thing, or like they moved. I don't know. I don't see why they wouldn't be able to move. There's like no reason for it in the game, I guess, but like I just figured like they can move in here. And the only reason she doesn't go like take care of him herself is because she only has control of like her part of the facility. He has control of his. So Twilight's got to go to his part of the facility to take him out. That's pretty much the story for this part, for Twilight's story in the future. I really liked animating those panels. Literally just like slide them, but like the way that they like collapse was always fun to make. Personality cores have that little rail that they go up and down on. So they can just pretty much go anywhere in the show. There's the portal gun. The portal gun. Oh, I forget if you had already seen this in any of the episodes, or any of the other parts of this episode. But you start to see the Celestial Laboratories logo on the walls. And people were like, so is this the other lab? Is this the Moon Lab? And it's like, no, the Moon Lab is Luna Laboratories. Like, there's two labs. It's Equestria and then Luna, but they rename Equestria to Celestia. And you see why later on. But that was another thing that like people were confused by. I forget if originally it was supposed to be the Moon Lab, because I did change the name without explanation, and I think it probably was, but then I was like, no, that doesn't. It doesn't. There's a reason why she's got to be on the Earth. Like, as the past scenes continue in the other episodes, you'll see why. But here she is. That joke on the wall. That's such a dumb joke. Over 9,000, right? That's how many test chambers are. Such a dumb joke. I just was like, haha, memes. Portal gun animation is something that like I rarely did after this, because it took so long to figure this out. If you want to know how this worked, so she shoots the oval for the portal on the wall, right? And you think like, oh, you just put the oval right there. All these lines on the panels on the walls are all animated, because when the portal opens, when she shoots the second one, I had to put obviously what's on the other side of the portal on the other side, right? So behind this wall is the front view of Twilight, and all this stuff has to move out of the way so that the hole can open and you can see through it. So all these like lines with the panels all like slide out of the way. So like you can't tell here because obviously it's hidden behind, but when this thing's shooting, you see how the blue one's like collapsing because the orange one is going to open. So all these like panels that are touching the orange and the blue parts of the portal holes are animated because they gotta like slide out of the way for this back image to pop up. And that took a while, like, because that was like the first time I did it. But I was like, well, you have to do that because it's Portal, right? You have to do it, and that's why it took so. That's why I didn't really do it again. Like, I obviously wasn't gonna do it eventually again because you have to, because it's Portal. But you see, this one looks a little wonky because I had to like futz with the ovals to get all that to work. But this was still early. You can tell because look at these character models. Like here, you probably already noticed this, but look at how like the lines end. Like look at her eyelids, like at the top where it touches her eyelashes, like that little gap where her ears connect to her head. There's like that gap. Her horn touches her hair at the bottom. Like all those little things. Like in the animation program, I didn't know how to round off the edges yet. So it's stuff like that that's still like present here. I know this was kind of random because it's like, how come this test chamber just opens up into nothing? Like, that doesn't happen all the time in the game, but like, we just go back to this like open nothingness area. But this was so I could be like, here's the boots, here's how she lands with the boots, so that you people can. Well, this was before I guess people were critical of it. I'm pretty sure people saw the pictures of her with the boots, and that's when it started. But when the episode came out, that's definitely when it was like. And see how she cracks the ground. I forget if that happens in the game if you like actually crack the ground when you fall from a big height. But I was like, yeah, that's just a detail to give it some impact. And there they are. Obviously, she's the Wheatley, the wacky partner. Well, Twilight's the reasonable one. That door animation is the best. All right, that's the end of the second episode. Yeah, I don't really have a lot to say like beyond like these early episodes. They don't have like a lot of stuff going on in the background yet, because this is when I was just like, you know, starting to make these things, so I didn't really get crazy with like set designs and whatever random references I'd stick in there. But yeah, that's the second episode. Again, thank you for watching. Be back for the third one.